Hello everyone, my name is Iwan Setiawan. I will discuss about language variation. The first definition: language variation. The variation refers to the different ways of saying the same things. It means that the different manners to say the same things happened during communication activities take place called a variation. Thus, it can be concluded that language variation is systematic difference on how one language is used by a different speaker or language. There are three aspects of language variation. That language variation refers to variance in pronunciation, grammar, or word choice within a language. In other words, the aspect of language variance consists of phonological, lexical, and also syntactical aspects. Those aspects will be explained vividly as follows. Phonological aspect of language variation refers to pronunciation and also intonation that used by different people to communicate. Even though people use the same language to communicate, but they will point out difference on how to pronounce certain words or the intonation that they use. For instance, when people from Kediri and Trenggalek describe something which is very small, from Kediri say cuilik, but from Trenggalek say ciluik. From the example above, we can that people from Kediri add letter U after the first consonant to describe something which has uncommon size, while people from Trenggalek add U after the second consonant. That is the example of different way to pronounce certain words in Javanese that used by people who came from different regions in Java. Another aspect is lexical. This aspect relates with choice of words that used by different people when they communicate in one language. Words which have some meaning but mentioned in different form must be appears when different people communicate in the same language, such as the choice of words that used by people who come from different regions when they interact with others. For example, the word of ngapusi and mbujuk, in which is both of them mean lie. Thus are the example of lexical aspect in language variation. Syntactical aspect deal with sentence structure of a language. Sometimes different people speak by using different sentence structure when they communicate with others although they use one language. For example, people who come from Ambon and Javanese have their own way to ask people to turn off TV. People who come from Ambon say, "Kasih, mati tu TV." Whereas Javanese say, "Matikan TV-nya." The previous example belonging to the example of syntactical aspect that contribute of variation of language. Meanwhile, variation of language occur because there are four factors that affect it. Those factors influence the way to use language by society in different ways include the choice of word, the sentence structure, even the way to pronounce particular words. Thus, factors will be discussed briefly as follows. Speaker. The first factor is speaker of that language, either individual or a group, in which every person has own way to communicate which is different with others. The difference are because of attributes such as age, state of health, personality, race, emotion, education background, job, etc. For example, people who come from Bojonegoro has different pronunciation and diction on some Javanese words from people who come from Trenggalek and Lamongan. Functional. Factor is fictional. It means that variation happens because of the field of the usage. The use of language in one field will be different with the use of language in other fields, like the use of language in journalistic and entertainment. The way of reporter we report news will be different with the present we report the gossip. Another example is the use of language in journalistic and literature, in which is the language that used in the newspaper will be different with the language that used in the novel. It proves that the file where the language is used will cause variation. Formality. This factor relates with the style of language, such as Freudian style, formal consultative, casual, and intimate style. Freudian style is most formal language that cannot be modified from the original one. It is usually used in the special occasion or formal ceremony, such as entrance that used by pastor or Muslim leader in the wedding ceremony. Freudian style is also used in the written text, such as in the Holy or Law book. Formal style which is commonly used in the formal speech or official meeting, such as formal speech in the meeting which is attended by president in ASEAN, or formal meeting CEO in an organization. Meanwhile, in consultative style, language that used in semi-formal, it means that the language that used in the conversation there is intimacy, ensure out of it just a little bit. For example, the language that used by an advisor when they guide students in doing thesis, or the language that used by a doctor when serving consultant of his medical patient. The fourth style is casual. It is informal language that usually used to make conversation between friends, contains slang, idiom, and any certain words which are uncommon to use. The last style is intimate style. The speaker may take ellipses, use single utterance, or sometimes use jargon. Very close friend or husband, wife usually uses this style when they communicate each other, in which when the speaker or the writer reveals something even in one word, the listener or the reader will understand what the writers or speakers intention without asking any further information about it. To sum up, language variation refers to different ways to use same language by that language. Speaker includes different aspects of phonological, lexical, and syntactical. The variation because the speaker this factor relates with the style of a language.